Rolling. Sound recording. Take one and action.
Sure, Rafa.
Friend.
None.
We have a professional.
We have a professional cameraman or in what do you
Take one.
take one? Isn't this not
Lights, camera, action.
like camera? Hey, it's too easy. It's a little bit what's your action? Okay.
Is this what we're doing now?
But anyway, guys, welcome back to another installation of Generation Gate podcast. We go by the name CIM.
and Mobility. I'm not going to do this
It's very important to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
But man, we are on episode 24.
Yeah, we're trying to be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, we are trying so hard to be a bit consistent. Guys, we know we haven't been posting a lot. So I will try and do better and we'll try and create more content. Because I'm not December, so there's also that exhaustion. We're a bit tired because we also have 9 to 5s and stuff like that. But look, like always, we'll start with our Zen, we'll start with our mantras. So is there anything that stood out for you this week?
What stood out for you this week?
What stood out for me is that you need to rest. Yo guys, I've been a bit tired as of late, but in as much as we work hard, we also need to rest a bit. I think also just to refresh your mind and just take some time out. I think that's the only mantra I can say today, that look, just maybe take some time off and relax and rest.
Yeah.
So that you can have fresh ideas and fresh.
But why do you want to? Like we're headed towards the festive anyway. You have enough time to rest.
I think
right now it's the last push.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me tell you, people think we have time. You know, festive season you don't rest because the people that you're going to see. For instance, if I'm going home in KZN, I will not rest because I'll have to interact. So socially, I'll be exhausted, right? And we think when
take two. Sound speed. Yeah, and action.
Yeah, so I was telling you, this thing, you don't go home to rest. Because usazothunywa, uthiwa kumele uzozivakashela and all these other things. So you don't really take some time off to rest and relax. But I do get what you're saying, that it's festive season and stuff like that. Also, weekends are short during festive season. So yeah, any thoughts or any quotes on your side?
So I think we maybe not be philosophical, because now we just, you know what, rest is important. Because I'm also exhausted, you know. I'm super exhausted.
I'm looking at you at your face, you're like,
so exhausted.
You're like, fuck this shit, I'm not going to motivate you guys, I just want to sleep.
Yeah, I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, So rest is important.
Rest is very important.
As much as you know, you have to deliver daily. And, you know, we have responsibilities and whatnot.
Sure.
Take care of that, but also remember that rest is also important. You know, just not just for rest's sake, but also just for your mental health and whatnot.
Sure.
I think we should continue. I was going to and then I'm so
I like how real you were. You were just like, I'm not going to pretend. Fuck that shit. Guys, let's just go. Let's all go to sleep. Hey, plus also, we are there by the 30s, but anyway, that's a story for another day. So speaking of...
No, but I'm touching it next year anyway, so...
So yeah, man. Today we're gonna. I know we touched on it last week. Touched on AI and some of the pros and cons of having artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So for all of those who don't know what AI is, artificial intelligence, your ChatGPT, all these other automated stuff that we use. So we're also debating whether it's good or bad and whatnot. And we also would like your views when you go and subscribe. Just also discuss what is it that AI has done for you, and do you think it's a good idea that we move in that direction as a country? You know. So yeah, I think from my side, I'll start. I don't think. Look, I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning towards not using AI. Maybe using like 40%, and I'll tell you why. Because look, I'm one person who likes things that are authentic, right? And yes, in as much as AI makes our life a bit easier, but there's also an element of it takes away the essence of what we're trying to do. And as much as in the healthcare sector, because I would say that's where I would think AI would be best suited to work. For instance, maybe to diagnose people, to create schedules and medicine that is tailor-made for a specific individual or for a specific illness, by all means. But there are also cons where, look, there's a lot of things that are getting automated, which now includes in the working space, right? So which means that there's a lot of people that are going to be without jobs because, look, you can't, with a robot, the robot won't say, I'm tired, right? So people can use that to manipulate the system and work 10 hours or open their businesses longer than they should, because obviously there won't be that 8-hour cap where people will be like, no, in terms of the law, I'm not allowed to work outside over 8 hours and stuff like that. But if you have an automated system that does the work, you can open up to like 20 hours, which is a benefit for you, the business, but it's also a disadvantage for people, because then it means a lot of people will be unemployed, especially in the sector where manual labor is required, right? So I'm still on the fence about it. There's quite a lot that I can unpack, but I'll just give you a chance to just maybe express your views.
To be honest, I'm all for AI because I'm such a lazy person. I'm so lazy.
Yeah.
No, but on the real though, I think AI is the best thing that's going to happen to human civilization.
Sure.
My view on AI is that AI is like with every step that humanity takes, there's some sort of technological advancement that's important, right?
Sure.
And with that advancement, we generally don't know how it's going to affect humanity. And when it starts to be adopted by humanity, it's always good.
Sure.
We did not know how, for example, social media was going to affect us.
Sure.
Now social media is the best thing to ever happen. How
Sure.
the internet. So I personally think AI is that next step in humanity, you know.
Sure.
And I think that it's so important for us to be open to, you know, technological advancement, and like everything that is made by humans, there will be disadvantages.
Sure.
Right? But to be honest, I personally believe that there'll be more advantages to AI more than there's more good than bad.
Sure.
You know, I know that people are concerned about their jobs, which is valid, and also the fact that AI will become will be able to control itself. You
Sure.
know, and that won't happen. AI, it's so fast. So we are so in the beginning of AI that right now this is the worst AI we have. It's the worst version
Sure.
of AI, you know, because you still have to teach it. It's still learning.
Sure.
You know, and it's going to take maybe 20 or 30 years before AI is that good.
Yeah.
You know.
So what about
I'm
like-
not really right now. I think AI is a net positive. You know,
Yeah.
because it's also going to allow. So AI is not there to replace people and whatnot. No, it is there to allow people to get back to being creative. Imagine if you didn't have to do like menial tasks
And
and you
the
had
bed is also agreeing with you.
yeah. Exactly. Imagine if you didn't have to clean your house. You'd
Yeah.
be focusing on other things that are more important. You'd be focusing on singing more as an artist.
Sure.
So I think AI will allow people to explore, to do more.
Time.
Exactly.
Do more with their time.
Exactly. Do more of what humans are supposed to do and be more creative.
Yeah.
That's what I think about AI and technological advancement.
But look, I do understand you and I do hear where you're coming from. But my concern also is centered around what sort of system do we need? Because look, with every system that is introduced, we also need to have protection. And I'll use the example I used the last time. I said, with nuclear bombs were not invented for wars, right? And we do understand the capitalist system, right? And power and all these other things. So we understand that there's certain things that are created for good, and I think in this case AI is created for good. But there's also that risk of AI being used for things that obviously wouldn't benefit society, right? I think I see a lot of people using AI to sort of bypass security systems. I see a lot of people bypassing data privacy stuff where obviously as a country we are not very good when it comes to data privacy and collection of information and privacy in general, right? So if you're going to have a system which is 10 times smarter than you that can access your details, your banking details, your whatever, I'm not quite sure if it would be beneficial at this point until we find a system where it's easy for us to recognize what is real and what is not. And that's the thing also about AI. I've seen a lot of videos where people are just like, this is automated, right? Because it gets to that point where people can be implicated for things that they didn't do because AI can now create videos that are so close to like the human interaction, right?
Sora. Yeah, Sora.
You get it.
Yeah, Sora is insane, yeah.
And that's the thing for me, the element or the essence of realness is now being replaced because after a long time, we'll get a lot of shows that are created by AI. What happens to actors? We'll get a lot of music that is created by AI.
And we were already
experiencing it. Then what happens to the people that are supposed to do those things naturally? And my concern is not really moving or saying we shouldn't use it, but it's do we have a system that is strong enough to detect if something is real or fake?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that and say this, right? So we're still in the beginning stages of AI, right?
Sure.
And as humans, we don't have countermeasures. You know why? Because it's still so new to us.
Sure.
But as AI progresses, we'll have people, who will learn more about AI and will have, and that's when the countermeasures will come into place.
Sure.
Meaning we'll have legislation, we'll have people who are, who basically would know how
the system works and
exactly,
how to protect
us
from
exactly.
the system.
Because now they would have learned more. So right now we don't have that because even South Africa, to be honest, South Africa is so behind. There's still a lot of people who don't know what ChatGPT is.
Sure.
Honestly, and there are people who don't know what Sora is. A lot of people don't know, like they're not that informed. They don't know about the RoboCab that Elon Musk launched like 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
They don't know about self-driving cars.
Also, can I ask you that? Do you think that is a good idea?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I am all for AI.
But also,
I'm an AI maxi. I'm an AI maxi.
Yeah.
Like anything that has to do with technological advancement, I'm for it. So I think that's good. I think that's a good thing, and we're moving away from like menial tasks, man. Like driving. Sometimes you don't want to drive. You want us to drive. And Imagine if a car would just say, big, yeah,
But
big,
also,
you know?
wouldn't you say that also takes away something from people who cannot afford that form of? Because I would assume if certain things are automated, then obviously the cost would be different. But I mean, we're living in a country where there's quite a lot of inequality already. And the people who don't even own smartphones in Makaya who are still using op, right?
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying, and I do get where you're going. So my thing is then, does that not then also give certain people advantage? Because obviously there will be inequality. And there's still people who don't own laptops, people who still don't own smartphones. So if you're going to say, look, for instance, okay, the world is now moving into like digital things. We pay with our phones, we do all these other things, and I'm carrying a Nokia 3310, which doesn't do all of that. So already the system will not cater for me because I am then expected to advance, right? So I'm also looking at it from an economic perspective in a sense that Kusase Eastern Cape who are crossing rivers, who don't have bridges, who don't have, and they are now then expected.
So that's
to
a different
advance.
thing. So that's a different thing. That's a socio-economic issue.
But it also
Right.
touches on AI because it also
That's
South
something
Africa.
that's something that has to be addressed by Ramaphosa and Abankan.
yeah.
But if you can
Yeah.
afford to have a robot, buy it. If you can afford to buy a self-driving car, buy that car.
No, I'm fighting. There's honestly an internal battle with me because I'm also fighting, and I'm all for advancements. Great,
Sure.
but I'm also just thinking about the simplistic ways of doing things because in as much as we want to progress and it's the same thing with you can't just meet a goal today and then tomorrow you want to get married to them, right? You can, but I would advise you not to.
Yeah.
You understand? So for me, it's also who is also going to provide the education for people because yes, in as much as it's not it's a socio-economic issue, but there's also that element of if we are going to adopt something as a country, there needs to be education around that. It's the same thing with HIV. When we knew it existed, we had to do the normal training around it. And I'm sorry to compare that to AI, but it's two different comparison. It's the same thing with manual and automatic cars. I'll use that example.
That's
So a lot of people still don't want to buy what is automated cars, automatic,
They feel
right?
like they're not
Because they feel like they're not driving, right? So with every advancement that is there, there's also the education part of it that we disregard. Yes, your interests are if I want something I can have it and I can afford to have it, but as a society, there'll always be someone who's behind.
Okay, so I'm going to say this, right? With every advancement, there's always going to be human resistance because we are so used to change.
Sure.
We're not used to change, rather.
Sure.
So that's where the resistance comes from. We
Sure.
always feel like, no, TikTok is not good. Facebook and Instagram are good. Everyone is on TikTok now. You see, so there's always that initial resistance.
But are there no side effects for being on
No,
TikTok?
obviously.
Because obviously,
They
and we've
are.
spoken about all these things, and that's why I'm
They are.
saying, in as much as there is advancements, there would be, like you're saying, and I completely agree with what you're saying right now, Muti, there would be resistance and there would be disadvantages, right? But I'm also, because this is something big. This is something that with TikTok you can choose to deactivate your account and lead a normal life, right? And not care.
Even with your robot, you can choose to deactivate it.
But now banks are using a different system. Banks are using we're all moving into the digital space. We're all moving into the AI space. When it comes to shops and the malls, everything is automated. And I would assume that's the direction we'll use, where for us to, we won't be carrying phones now. You can just log on and do whatever. So my then fear is the safety around that. the lack of knowledge around that, because if we're going to accept something, we need to be certain it's tailor-made for us and it's going to work for us.
Okay.
And that's why I always speak about the socio-economic aspect of it, because that plays a huge role in terms of, because you were saying now a lot of people don't know what ChatGPT is, but there's quite a lot of people who know how to use it and who can manipulate that thing. A lot of the programs at universities are still require you to do your essays a certain way. AI now comes through and allows you to type a 10-page essay in like 5 minutes. The authenticity and the learning aspect of it now is lost because it only summarizes the information that you need to get it. So that's also my biggest concern, that look, there's that human interaction and human essence that is lost.
Your thing comes from that natural human.
I'm clapping to you.
Yeah. So it comes again. It comes from that natural human instincts to resist change.
But change can be resisted if it's not good. We can foresee change. That's why I'm saying I'm using that nuclear bomb situation, because we started doing that for mines. Sure. Now the missiles, the nuclear bombs that are used to destroy wars.
Eventually humans accept certain things when they learn more about it. Right? You were saying that there's education and whatnot, and people start understanding why it's important. So I want to address the socio-economic issue, right? Again, AI is there not to replace, but to enhance what we already have as humans.
Yeah. At what cost?
Okay, and also the economy will be different, will be hugely altered when we have AI.
Yeah.
Why? If we, for example, we have AI robots that are doing more farming, that means as an economy we will grow, right? And people will be able to loan out their robots to do those menial tasks. So you have to think about it from that perspective. If this RoboCab that I was talking about can carry 10 people and you own one, Uber, now you see it's going to still be a form of income for people, in as much as tech companies will be benefiting from selling that, but you can also use that as a form of a business. And when you talk about a store where you'll just walk in and not have to pop out cut lock or whatever, and there's no one helping you. Now, your question is, okay, what happens to those people who are what do you call the tellers? What happens to them? As humans, we always evolve. As humans, not so long ago, there was nothing called a podcaster, but now podcasting is a huge thing. There was no streamers. So humans, and this is not from me, this is from Naval Ravikant. I want you to watch his episode on Joe Rogan. He talks about how AI and how human advancement happens regardless of the
resistance
and also of whatever the economy is or whatever the thing is. Humans always find a way of creating new things, new jobs, so for example, an influencer was not around 30 years ago and whatnot, so when you think about these things, you're like, oh, okay. And as much as the more we move away from certain things, we get closer to better things. And humans, we always, let's just say that Teller was a good singer. She can go back to being a singer. You see, so my thing is,
it gives you more time to do the things that you want to do.
And also humans, we are created to adapt, right? Eventually we'll adapt. There is resistance to change, but we adapt to new times and come up with new ways of doing things in that modern time. So eventually we need AI, we will adapt. Yes, right now it's very scary for everyone. And because everyone is will be losing their job, but also you'll have a business. You're talking about a business. If you can open if you have foresight, I'm afraid a lot of people don't have foresight, and you see an industry that will be able to, for example, you're talking about a store, right? If I can open a store that has no human, that means I don't have to maintain paperwork and I open that store, already I've started a business. Sure. If many more people can do that, the economy is growing. So you have to kind of think about that in that way.
The bigger, oh my God, you sound like Elon Musk. It's scary. But also, I'm thinking now about, and I do get where you're coming from, but I'm also thinking about the element of it's not the system, it's not the system that is bad,
Sure.
but it's the people
Exactly.
that manipulate the system,
Yeah.
right? And my fear or my concern does not just come from AI being there.
Mm.
It does not come from human advancement. It does not
It
come
comes from
from,
human nature.
but it comes from the nature of human, because we understand how human function, how human beings function.
Exploitation. and
People
whatnot.
will use that to exploit other human beings, because what? Power. We want power. We want to manipulate the system. We want to manipulate the economy. We want to start wars. We want to create all these things that are bad for us. And I'm thinking now, you also don't have to go to war. You can just deploy a human robots and they can go fight those things. And you look at it from a positive perspective, but that for me is very scary. In a sense, you would use robots to fight wars and kill people, because robots are on command and there's no conscience, there's no limitations. So basically you can literally destroy the entire world with just a click
So that
of a
means.
button. Have you watched the movies, The Spy? What is it? Those movies where there would be. I was watching Kingsman.
Yeah.
I was watching those movies, and the way those things, the way there's so much truth in those things, because a lot of the times we think of movies, we think of tech as, but we don't see the power behind it. What happens when that falls into people that are incapable of human decency and one power, right?
So, but again, my thing is AI right now. We are so far. Yes, your concern is valid, but we are so far from AI being sentient, and AI won't be sentient yet. It will take forever, because also, right, there will be a locus of control.
Yeah.
So, meaning there will be someone controlling that AI. So it will take time for AI to say, no, we're not controlled by humans, we're controlled by ourselves. Then that's dangerous. But for as long as humans can control it.
But you were talking about advancement. What makes you think that won't happen? Because if you're saying, if things aren't controlled, then if you're saying...
We will have... So, should I go into the chips that humans will have? Like,
that's the thing!
Like,
you talk about it like it's so normal.
No, but again, that's interesting.
Why do I want a chip?
It's going to enhance your intelligence.
I don't want that. I don't want.
So look, you're competing with a robot, and I'm saying here's a chip to enhance your intelligence. You don't want it. It will destroy you in real time. So I'd rather have a chip so I can compete with that robot. And eventually, Carl, look. We are basically a semi-robotic now. Not even semi, 10%. Your phone, your device is part of you now. The only difference is the processing time. The only difference is the processing time.
Because it can break now and I can move on. My life will be. But the thing is, and that's the thing, and that's what I'm saying.
You can't function without this.
I can.
For how long?
I can very much function without this.
For how long?
Let me tell you.
You can't function without your laptop. You can't function without your TV. There's so many things that we can't function with.
But you see, that's also where the problem is. That's where the problem is, where now I can't function outside of a device. Mm-hmm. And I do get the element of human advancement. I'm for it and I'm good with it. But now, my then life is now dependent on how I can function with the device. Mm-hmm. And I'm also looking at the element where people cannot afford those devices. Do we cater for them? Or do we say, screw you, you can't afford to have a robot, so that's on you.
The more we adopt certain things, the cheaper they'll become. Phones, not so long ago, a smartphone was expensive, but almost everyone, emakhaya manje mofika abantu banawo ama-smartphone.
Sure.
Yeah, so initially, companies will be the only things that are affording robots and those advanced, advanced whatever.
Sure.
Because it's going to be super expensive. But eventually, the more they will assimilate into society, the cheaper it becomes, and everyone will.
And the more accessible, And the more accessible it becomes,
Okay,
right?
so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we can wrap it up. Do you wanna
No, I think we should just get
just
into
get into part two?
part 2 because we have no time.
Okay, now we'll go to part 2.
Sure.
Still, it's stressing me.
Yeah.
When the world is pulling you down, everyone keeps messing your crown. Joy comes
Okay,
in the morning.
you take by 3. Yeah, you take 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
And
Go.
action.
Sibuyile bafethu
So-
indaba ye-HI la.
AI.
It's HI. Sibuyile indaba ye-AI, guys. And we have people who have certain views about AI who are like me, who
Not
are
views, but
resistant
like,
change, but
yeah, they just
yeah,
like-
and we'll just hand it over to them to just tell us what they
They
think
should
about
or
AI.
not. Yeah, I suppose I get
We had a question between the HI, Buti.
At the age.
That's what he's in HR.
Yeah, sure, much it. I'm not live, no. So I have a question. We tell when the AI is a good thing. Our life, for technology reasons, it is a good thing.
Mm.
But more let's say Africa is still behind. It's good for third world countries. Based on when we let we ask with the agriculture is the backbone of most of the African families. Abaning they depend on farming and so forth. As much as Africa as a whole nje siyalima thina. And then cabanga manje ngisakwazi ukulima sokulima robot. So kufana ukuthi farming as well is part of exercise. That's why abogogo baseLimpopo even today they live for many years. Uzoba la gogo lo solo flakes and what. So what are you saying? Are you saying she should sit down and let the robots do what she loves? Is that what you say?
Okay, so Mina, to answer that, Nzoti, if she genuinely loves the agriculture, I stop. Nah? But there are easier ways. Ukukile, what is she doing and farming anyway? Nah? That's the first thing
It's
I'll
a
say.
form of physical therapy for her.
Ukulile, okay,
Sure.
Uzoyenza. Now,
Yeah.
AI is not going to mind you. If when you want to do that task, the AI mind you doesn't have to do that. I'm not saying AI has to do everything, but it's going to make doing everything else easier.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
And I understand ukuthi ukulima it's part of the Africa. Meaning ukuthi thina as people get kumele ube ne-foresight. I need more one ukuthi okay, i-AI izothatha such and such. Wena right now save and invest in a robot that's going to do ukulima for wena. Own a farm and buy land and then uthenge lelo robot ukuthi likuspanele in the future so you can do better things. Kunokuthi wena busy break your back lapho
Yeah.
while ulima and stuff.
I hear you, but I'm also saying it's unreasonable for us to expect people to save. Save from what? Because in as much as, and that's why I keep taking it back to like the current status of the country. It's ridiculous for us to say people must save and plan for an expenditure when there are things that are accessible, that are easy to do, that don't require money, that they can do. And like you said, farming is one of those where people are just like, this is just my life. I can wake up in the morning and do this myself. But now I will then have to incur a cost where I'll have to buy a robot, which may cost me
But the
10 times.
but the return on investment and you have to think about the return on investment and the physical labor on you. It's going to be way more important than Leo Malo saving.
But you see, the capitalism is the return of investment, as in it's all about money. It's not generally about money. And that's why I'm saying I want the option to also do the things I want to do, which aren't controlled by money. And that's why the capitalist system is saying, consume, consume, consume. This will make your life easier. Where in actual fact, this puts you in debt. This makes you spend so much more. This makes you do 1, 2, 3. So, in as much as we are moving from the element of doing the things ourselves and doing the work ourselves, it also cripples us because we now must afford to have things that can do the work that we're supposed to do. For instance, look at the industry now. A lot of the people that went to school and had their degrees and diplomas are replaced by machines. It's only people who are doing manual labor, your technicians, your engineers and stuff like that. So those are the ones that are profiting from unemployment, because you still need the physical labor. You still need the inspection and whatnot. So, good or bad, granted advancement is good, but also it makes us want to spend more money for that convenience. And that's where my chat is, where the return on investment does not make sense if I have to spend money for it.
But also, it's a once-off thing. It's a once-off investment. That robot is going to work for you forever.
Maintenance, because with the robot.
Wait, can I say this point?
Yeah.
I need to take the return. Yeah, I need to take the return of investment. Sharp. We are telling the robot lens farming yakho. Bese la jam, it needs service.
Exactly. Maintenance.
It needs to maintain. Sazela ukuthi maybe like let's say kune client ilifuna ile idea. I'll push a robot like bese last year. Now you can't deliver. You have to go service or uthenge ipart ethize bathi ayiblow itop. Mele manje uhambe yo
perfect.
Let me tell you,
operator exactly njengemoto.
Yeah, but you see, it creates a lot of problems near warranty, because if a robot stops and I promise to deliver ilokhuza and now I can't do that, then it means I need to take more money and say, because I couldn't deliver, then the cost for that day will be paid by me. So it means there will be a lot of influx in terms of warranties, because it's a robot, it's not a human being. There would be issues in terms of maintenance, because it creates problems now for people to maintain these things. So then it means you'll be spending a lot of time paying the cost and maintenance and all these other things for things that you could actually do.
So again, Leon Dole at the time will be created to optimize on ukuthi it doesn't break down frequently. Nah? First thing. Second thing, imoto, when they were created, there was no worry about warranty and whatnot. But manje, cars are created and ziba part of the Uber. And people about owning motors ama Uber, they know they have to pay for petrol, insurance and whatnot. So it's still the same thing. The difference would manje so we robots.
You are getting to where I want you to go, because then you are creating a solution which will come with a lot of problems. Because
the car gets us from A to B.
Yes. Correct.
But
there's insurance that you must pay for. There is maintenance that you must pay for. And I'm not trying to be archaic and functional, but I'm saying, in as much as the solutions for things that are created, it also creates some form of expenditure. Exactly. And that's where I'm going with it, in terms of we need to be in a place where if we can all afford to have cars, we must also afford to also have insurance, which means there's more money for insurance, there's more money for tracker, there's more money for whatnot. And I do get where he's coming from in terms of maintenance, because then it says, if machine and I use that machine to do the cleaning, the other person expects the cleaning to be done regardless. So it creates a red tape for a lot of people to say, now I must be fighting battles of you, of machine wako ungasebenzanga for 2 weeks because
okay, so what I have to say.
Okay, before I ask this,
sure.
So with all the maintenance cost, and how much would Zamban cost if
it's going to be way cheaper?
That's
why I need to remember that, mind you, what we're paying for is the human. It's basically okay. For Zamban, it's cheap. Nah, it's still cheap because it's basically being found by dieting. In terms of Zamban, logistics mostly, it has to move, it has to be handled in my warehouse and whatnot. But also, who's working in that warehouse? Humans. So my labor cost that's what yes. My labor cost. Things are going to be cheaper because mind you have something that you don't have. You don't have to pay imali any for it to function. And a robot doesn't have a salary.
Yo, Elon Musk like to the one.
Hayi.
Elon Musk like to the
And
one.
yabona ukuthi wena you more on the capitalist side.
That's what I'm saying.
But first, unfortunately, let us accept we live in a capitalistic world.
Okay,
Let
mamela.
us accept. And
Mamela.
njengoba siphila in that
Okay.
capitalistic world, we have to understand the rules and laws of capitalism. And if uzozwela abantu,
It's not about
It's not
uzwela
also,
abantu. One of the problem that it's gonna create,
sure.
it's more crime because abantu ababhanyeke baselokishini bayapanuluka, they're gonna dwell into more drugs and abayenzi next imishini yenza yonke into.
Sure.
So doesn't that anyeke izi create obu laziness bengcono because
No. Again, ngizosho leya nto engimphendule ngasho
Okay.
yona ukuthi it's going to allow us humans to be more creative.
No.
So if when naive or born ukuthi the world is undergoing this certain change and ofuna invest in bettering yourself or learning more about the technology and whatnot, uzoshama drugs. But if you are ahead of your time,
So,
and
do you have anything to add
zombie,
before we wrap it up?
wait
And-
before you wrap it up. Uyangishisa lo muntu indawo yazi. That's the problem is that.
Elon Musk.
I wanna already right now i-AI kaka qosha abantu and so forth. Ngale rate esinayo unemployment na. This is what's happening guys ukuthi abantu ababhaya manje akusipana kuyenzini akunama opportunities abhaya. You can't say just cause when you are like I'm gonna do it. I sonke senjalo.
Sure.
Some others are made to bafila ngathi mina mangayi ngiyosipana. Ukuqala into yakhe it's not his thing. When now you have that gift ukuthi mina ngifuna uqala into yami. That's your passion. Abanye mina ngifuna ukuqashwa ngisebenze. That's all I know. Whatever. So as the unemployment is very high, ababhaya bathini ake Kenya kasi babhizi namahabli manje. Babhizi nama drugs angithola. So imagine if the AI increase more. Akusana ipani manje. What's going to happen with those? Because not everybody is a creator. There's student A, student B, student C, anxious.
Sure.
So ama categories khona abayenzele i-theory incwadi khona abayenzele ukuthini babe se-stratini practical and so forth. And then there's creatives khona laba bafuna nje comfort basifanele government those ones. So that's comfort chief basifanele bathi mina mangaba i-nurse right and so forth. Imagine akusana nurse ugadwa i-robot that nurse ayisekho leyo touch leyo. There's no longer that touch ukuthi unjani babusipho right uvuke kahle irobot ngeke likubuza ukuthi right lizothi I'm gonna give you 55 milligrams uyayibona manje uyayibona.
Guys,
you saw that babies and that babies and these dolls now.
Yeah.
So nichere robot kabang
ngona ngeke likuchithela ngeke likhethe.
mara lizostiaka. Imagine your minutes of is in a freeze. Yeah, update.
But
Yeah,
no, I hear you. I think we should wrap it up because it's
getting
going
wild.
it's getting
No,
wild.
okay.
But any
No.
closing remarks or any?
Mina, I think ukuthi we should completely and utterly embrace the technology. And Tina, humans always find a way of solving problems at the time. But a lot of people were concerned about the internet.
But
Like, mind you,
created
we-
problems. We've seen where we have created advancements that become a problem. So now we then must solve the problem we created.
Yeah, angithi that's the price we have to pay for advancement.
But we're creating other problems in solving that problem.
That's what we have to do to progress. I mean, as we have to solve little problem. Angithi for us to be able to continue forward. Advancement is nothing more than solving future problems, right?
Sure.
So the more we solve for problems, the more problems there will be.
Sure.
Right now, we are solving the problem of unemployment, for example, right? Especially like South Africa, and South Africa has no reason to be poor. About our spices, our politicians with our spices.
Yeah.
And the concern you put evaluate yoguthi there's already unemployment, robots and whatnot.
Sure.
But I'm saying now as umuntu ungangokuthi mina I'm practical in heavy foresight and be ready for a time where a robot is going to replace you and be willing ukuthi as in I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity. Where if I'm 46,000 man, if I could save you 1,000 for the next 10 years before we figure AI advancement and mabathi lawo ma robots afika in and ngisasebenzi sizongispanela ngizosipayela i-robot ngizihlalele and travel to Dubai. I have something that's working for me. So I mean, I'm also going to say this to people: heavy foresight. Into that's killing us also as people is we want to wait for things to us not foresight here. It's as born is in this way and that's why it's when lezo zinto sesifika. Even in social media and TikTok, many what I young card. It's in you can delete and have a social media detox. People don't do that. That's what blame. I know. You always have to have a foresight. DSTV being on what TikTok is off you. They're losing sales now because they don't want to stream.
Yeah, but with like every advancement, I like what you started with. You said with every advancement, there would also be resistance and there's also going to be problems.
Yep.
And my biggest concern is more creating something that will make us spend a lot of time minimizing the problem.
But we won't.
But how do you know?
But
because with every advancement, because remember,
are we solving?
Can I give you an example?
Are we spending a lot of time solving in Google right now?
Can I give you an example?
Are we spending a lot of time trying to solve in
Google? But we spend a lot of time trying to solve cyber security issues, trying to solve fraud and all these other things.
But quite
a lot. Let me tell you, and I'll use this example, cars. We look at it from the perspective of it's easy, makes things easier for us. What about emissions that are now destroying the ozone layer, right? And I want us to look at it from that perspective that yes, it's an advancement. It makes our lives a bit easier. It makes our lives efficient. It makes us get to where we need to get to on time. But at what cost?
Okay, so
and I'm pro environment. You know this about me.
This.
I'm all about environment and making sure that, because if you don't respect the same environment that we live in, we'll spend a lot of time trying to solve those issues. We see issues now with soil erosion. We see issues with contamination, waste management and stuff like that, where we're consuming so much of plastic and consuming also all these things that end up in the ocean, and then we spend billions trying to clean the ocean up, trying to make sure there are no toxins in the ocean. So I'll keep saying this again: if we don't respect nature, nature will not respect us back. So we'll spend a lot of time trying to solve izinto zethu and pretending like we did not contribute to those things, you see. So going back to AI, all for it when it comes to certain aspect of it, and when it comes to advancing things or edifying things that the human mind cannot do. But I don't want to have AI just for convenience when I'm going to spend the next 200 years or the next decade solving a problem that I created because I wanted convenience. You see. So I do understand what you say. It's got takeaways. Consuming takeaways. It's easy, you don't spend a lot of time, it's quick. But the after effect, there's a negative thing on your health. It's not real. It's the perfect example of doing something that is nice and convenient for you, but it destroys you.
Yeah, again, I'll say this. That there's always a price to pay. There's always a price to pay for advancement. There's always a price to pay for everything. And
Sure.
There's always a sacrifice that's going to, So if we have now this great technology, it has to affect. And the Leon Dole is not just, it's just human error.
Sure.
We're not perfect. So therefore, in as much as we can't come up with perfect systems and so on, we can't come up with perfect things, perfect everything, just
Sure.
because we're humans. That's where the human error comes into play. Yes, in as much as we can create something that there will always be that. As a little foresight to make this a complete system that does not have its defects.
Sure.
And so on.
Yeah.
But please, guys, don't be so afraid of AI. It's not as bad. It's
I know. Any final remarks?
Yeah, my thing is just like, let's embrace AI.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that's going to happen to humans. Like everything that always happens, there'll be challenges, man. But yeah, that's all I say.
My remarks, to respect planet Earth. This is the only place we are allowed to live in. If there is an advancement, we need to also have foresight, like you said, and see if it's not going to create more problems for us. I'm all about the advancement, but I'm also about making sure that we respect and preserve whatever we have. If that is going to then take away, if AI is going to take that away from me, I will constantly oppose it. But no.
Yeah.
So guys, you are free to comment, to give insight, input. Tell us if we're wrong on the comment section on social media. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we're not on Twitter. No? We must create. We're also on TikTok. So if you wanna follow us and you wanna interact with us, please do so. So from me, Ivalembal.
So iqalisa i-AI.